Okay, thank you everyone for joining. Let us begin. Look, the beautiful little thingies. Yeah, so Rabbi said we find ourselves in Chodesh Elul. There are many svarim that bring out different remazim for the month of Elul. Svarim bring out that there's a hint in the pasuk in Shir Hashirim. Ani l'daidi li Rosh Tevis Elul. And by the way, what are the Seifi Tevis of Ani l'daidi li? Yud 40. The 40 days. The 40 days are Shayimei Ratzon. These are the second set of 40 days that Moshe went up to Har Sinai. It's the third set, I'm sorry. And this is the time when it was the Eibishter was happy with Yidden. And he came down and in Salachti Kidvarefa, and that's in Kippur. So that all started with Chodesh Elul and goes through the whole Elul. There are many other Rosh Hashanah. One of the Rosh Hashanah brought is by Ari Mikot. It says Ina liyadei v'samti lach. Ina liyadei Aleph Lamed v'samti lach above Lamed Elul. Why does Ari Mikot connect it to Elul? Because Ari Mikot is our month of refuge. And specifically, which part, what way is it refuge? It's the Torah, the Gemara, Chazal tell us that Divrei Torah kultus. A person needs a refuge from the Yetzer Hara. Throw yourself into Torah. Think Torah, learn Torah. Oh, have Torah is a tavlin to deal with the Yetzer Hara. So that's the idea of Elul Inuli Yadu Samtilach. It also says in the Megillah, Ish l're'ehu matanas of Yainim is also Elul. Ish l're'ehu matanas of Yainim is Ina Tzedakah. Matanas of Yainim. We also find it says Nila Daidi Daidi Li is the idea of Tefillah, person's connection to Hashem. And Nila Daidi. We also have another Rosh Tevis, Shira la Hashem, Yomru Leimer, which is a remes to the Geula that we're gonna sing Shira before the Eivishter. So what's the connection between all these different remazim? In the Chodesh Elul, there's another Rosh Tevis. Es l'mal Hashem alekecha, es levavcha, ve'es levav. Es levavcha, ve'es levav. Elul. What's the idea of that? Hashem will circumcise your heart means the idea of tshuva. That's going back to Hashem within. So Elul, we have to do tshuva. And which areas do we have to strengthen and do tshuva? And the idea of Torah, which is Ina liyadei v'samti lach, a place of refuge. And the idea of tzedakah, and the idea of Isha Eim Matanas of Yainim. And to mechazek do tshuva in the area of Tefillah, Nila Daidi V'Daidi Li. And when we work on all of those, we're zeicha to the fifth remes, Ashila Hashem Yom Leimer, the idea of the Geula. As the kesher between all these in Yanuk.
Also, is Ani Labavich, Vatal Labavich.
It's something new. Oh, it's because you're not Sfardi now. If you're Sfardi, we'll be doing 40 days of slippers.
Yeah. Siddhis talks about this idea of doing 40 days of slippers.
The year, I'm going to have to do 4 times 10. It's the 40 days that they do.
Right? Yeah. For all the 40 days of the Yimei that Moshe was up in the Har. Okay, Rabbi Sai, we had to start learning Hilchas Hachag as we're coming closer to Yom Tov. So we have here Simin Tov Kuf Pei Beis. First Simin Hilchos Rosh Hashannah. Seder Tfilas Aseres Meitshuva Rosh Hashannah. Kol Hashana Adam Mispala Kel HaKadosh Bracha Gimel Melech Yitzchak Mishma Bracha Yud Aleph. Chutz Me'asara Yamim Shebein Hashana Yom Kippurim. Aseres Meitshuva Shebehen Tzarech Leima HaMelech HaKadosh HaMelech HaMishpat. Sheyamim Halal HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mare Malchusay Lishpeit Es Ha'am. It's the idea of Melech. What happens if you made a mistake, or you're not sure? If you remember after the time it takes to say Shalom Alecha Rebbe, you have to go back to the beginning.
By both?
Kel HaKadosh, Melech HaKadosh. We'll talk about Melech HaKadosh. Hey, im niskala acher shashah kadei shilo shalom tamal rabbi acher gemara bracha. Vein tzechlem niskala acher shisa bracha. We started already to feinu. I'm sorry, atachoinen. As soon as you say the word atachoinen, it's the last Rosh Tefillah. You have to go back to the beginning of the tefillah. Now I understand if you make a mistake in a bracha, you go back to the beginning of that bracha. Why do you have to go back to the beginning of all the first three brachas? Shalish brachas ishaines chashuves ke'achas. First three brachas are considered one unit. Make a mistake in any of them, gotta go back to the beginning. The other brachas, the Shemana say, you make a mistake in that bracha, go back to the beginning of that bracha. Siv Beis, if you remember right away, you said Akel HaKadosh. Oh, you remember? You said Amelech HaKadosh, you just say it. It's only if you waited or you started the next bracha, then you have a problem. Then you have to go back to the beginning. Because it's mamish ma'akiv. Now, many say that the same halacha is by a melech hamishpat. V'chein hadin by melech hamishpat. V'niske la'acha shashah shirik te'ashir hazeh shamelech yitzak hamishpat ein yitzak lachs l'reish ki mishihiskal shamalachs. However, over here, by Melech HaMishpat, have a machlekes. If you remember right away, you correct yourself. You said Melech HaMishpat. You said, "Oh, Melech HaMishpat." Good, you can say that. But if you did not remember right away, here we have a machlekes. Not everyone agrees that Melech HaMishpat has the same status.
Because it has Melech in it. It has Melech in it. Melech it has a Melech in it, so that's why they don't.
Oh, very good. Even shehiske lasha malchus, like you're saying. Since you already mentioned Melech Yitzchak Mishpat, so therefore you don't have to go back according to this sheet. However, others say the Rambam, the Yeshemim, the Niska Kodesh Sin Tfilas, we're holding 3 lines from the bottom of the page. Say no, you made a mistake. Go back to the beginning of Hashiva Sheftenu. The Niska La'achash Sin Tfilas, if you remembered after you finished Shemana Esrei, to go back to the beginning of Shemana Esrei, just like by Melech HaKadosh.
But you say Melech, why doesn't the Rambam?
Why does he hold? Oh, very good Shaila. Shin yesh hefrish me Melech HaYitzchak HaMishpat laHamelech HaMishpat. Chol Hashana HaTzedakah Iker. Kach Yikdemu LaMishpat. Tzedakah is the main thing. Mishpat secondary. So you say he's a Melech, which is Oyev Tzedakah and Mishpat. Tzedakah is the Iker. Yamim Halalu. HaMishpat Iker. These days, Mishpat is the Iker. Kach ein maskidin tzedakah kla. We don't mention tzedakah at all. So according to the Rambam, it's important. What do? We have machlekes Rishonim. Rabbi Yoina, the Rambam. What do? So Alter Rebbe explains. We have a klal in brachas. If you are not sure you should say a bracha, you don't do it. Safek brachas, like is going to say Hashem's name. You're not sure you have to say Hashem's name. Don't say it. Only in halacha, safek brachas l'hakel. So therefore, you treat it. You don't go back. If you remember at any point in the middle of your davening, I didn't say this bracha, that bracha correctly. I said melech like mishpat. You You don't go back to Shiva because maybe all these brachas that you're going to be repeating are going to be a bracha levatala, possibly. However, after you go back, take 3 steps back, better. It's better to daven again.
By both, by Melech HaMishpat and Melech HaKadosh. If you're not sure if he said it.
Hamelech HaMishpat, it's not, Hamelech HaKadosh is not toiv. It's a chiyuv. You have a chiyuv to go back. There's no machloikas about it. It's a ma'akiv. However, Melech HaMishpat is a machloikas, so it's better to go back. You're not chayiv to go back. Go back, but when you go back, you're not davening. You can't daven it like, oh, because I made a mistake. You daven it what's called an adava. I'm bringing a adava to Hashem. You're allowed to bring karbanis in the davis extra. We're chayiv to bring a tamid in the morning, come a tamid at night, like we say in karbanis before shachris and mincha. However, you're allowed to bring an adava. So I want to daven a tefillah, which is like an adava. I'll daven an extra tefillah. Vein itzad chadash b'davar. She's follow mafas a suffix. That a cloud. The halacha is when you daven a tefillah adava, you're not supposed to daven Shemona Esrei that are all the same. Look, why are you davening same Shemona Esrei again? You just daven. So you're supposed to add something into the tefillah. Because you want to daven again, because you want to daven for a certain individual, for some things, parnasa. So you daven again, and you mention a chiddush in daven. You add it in. You're allowed to add in to the brachas something which is similar to that bracha. Shemei tefillah, you could add in something else. It's not connected to these 18 brachas specifically. A tefillah. So do that again. However, in this case, when this tefillah sedava is coming also as a suffix, it's really coming because you have a doubt. Maybe you indeed need to repeat Shemona Esrei. We follow the Rambam Shita, which is mafresh. Therefore, you don't need to add machadash anything to this tefillah. You could daven a regular davening, not machadash, but you're not chayiv to daven this tefillah.
Well, you might.
Our poskim today, the taina, that today we don't have in mind so much. We don't daven with such concentration, so you shouldn't daven again unless you feel you could concentrate well. That's why not everyone is noyig this way today. So
if you do an adava, you might forget to say Melech HaMishpat, which is the second time. So you have a problem.
If you feel you're forgetful, don't do it. Sometimes we try to be an irachach, and we want to be so mahader, and we don't realize we're not necessarily being mahader. We do something. Yeah, we we have to know what we're doing if we want to be sometimes frum. Too frum. You need a heter. You need a heter.
Today our adavas are not so much adavas because our mind is floating all over.
So meaning if you're chayiv to daven again, we understand why you daven yavachiu. But if you're not chayiv, and the Eibishter says, what are you davening again? You're not having kavanah. Dialogue you daven what you need to daven. Alter Rebbe doesn't bring this. I'm just saying later. Alter Rebbe doesn't mention this, but later Paskim say this. I'm not sure because that idea is said regarding a regular tefillah and daven that you shouldn't. Today they discourage davening a regular. Even it could be even Alter Rebbe himself says it in another place. I don't remember.
Or if you forget the
but over here you're davening not a regular tefillah daven. You're davening because there's a shita which says you should. So I'm not convinced entirely that this that we should wipe away this din that the Rebbe says toiv shispal oidapam. It's definitely not a chiyuv. The shaila is should we say toiv shispal oidapam or today's day say better not to? Do we say that or not? I'm not sure. There definitely are certain poskim that say to do that you shouldn't do that anymore today. Whether Alter Rebbe held that way or not, I'm not clear, and I didn't do a strong enough study in that. Now, what happens if you practice to yourself 90 times? Because remember, we have a klal. It takes 30 days to get used to something.
It's actually less than 90 because Shabbos you have more tefillah. So you have 4 weeks. You have how many Shabbos and 9 days.
Shchaydish. Some Amar Tzadik Pam Baruch Shamel Hakadosh. 90 times we said it. You practice it. Baruch Shamel Hamishpat. And now you had a suffix in davening. What did I say? I'm not sure. What did I say? I'm not going to help you. Over here, it doesn't help. Everyone agrees you got to go back. I remember talking about Hamelech HaKadosh. We by Mashur Geshem. Moed Hatal, we don't say that. We say it works. Say 90 times. You trained yourself to say it. Doesn't work. Over here, it's different because it's Hashem's name. So when you practice, you're not saying Hashem's name, you're saying Hashem. Now when you're going to actually say now Baruch Atah Hashem's name, really, you're going to go back to the way you're used to saying. You're going to say Akel HaKadosh. So we don't have any raya that 90 times works here. We had, you remember that Yid, we always chazer over, what was his name again? Went to Eretz Yisrael. Gottlieb. He was the Ashkenaz Yeke. He said that he heard from someone had his uncle had told him that he remembers that it may be in Brisk or Vilna. I don't remember what he said that they would hakafis Shmini Atzeres or Svastaida. You do hakafis, then you start saying Mashuach Menageshem. So they would go around. One of that kafis was they had to sing song of Mashuach Menageshem. This way, and by the time they finished the song, it was 90 times. That works. That works. But here it doesn't work. By the way, I just want to point out, we don't need to do that. That's Ashkenazim need to do. But Sfardim or Chassidim don't need to do this. I'll tell you why. Because they don't say Moed Hatol during the summer. You look in the Sidurim, in Nusach Ashkenaz, the summer, they don't say anything. Because remember, there's no chiyuv to ask for tal. Tal, the Eibishter always brings tal. To mention the Eibishter's koyach Moed Hatol, not a chiyuv, it's a minig. So their minig in Ashkenaz, the minig was Ashkenazim, they never mentioned tal. You're supposed to, you have a chiyuv to masker Geshem, and then after Zayin Cheshvan, or after 60 days after the equinox in Golos, we say that we also ask for Geshem. Not only we mention Geshem, we say the same Talamot. But Ba'etzim, the whole idea that we're mentioning Tal or Ruchais, Mashav HaRuach, the mention of Tal or Ruchais is not a chiyuv, it's a minig. And their minig is, they don't mention it at all in the summer. There's no mention at all. Pesach time comes, first day Pesach, they stop saying Mashav Menageshem, and they say nothing until Shminet says. Now, when they, in the wintertime, forget to say Mashav Ruach, what does that mean they forgot? It means they said nothing. That's a problem. Those who say Moed Hatol in the summer, our meaning that we say Moed Hatol in the summer, if we forget in the winter to say Mashav Ruach, what are we going to say? Moed Hatol. We're used to saying Moed Hatol. I didn't say Mashav Ruach, I said, but I'm used to saying until Moed Hatol. The halacha is, but the Evan Moed Hatol is good. Moed Hatol, if you say Moed Hatol, but the Evan is a substitute for Mashav Ruach Geshem. Because I gave Hashem a shevach, I praised him for something. So therefore, this whole idea of doing the 90 times for Mashiach Megeshev is not negeya, the halacha, for those who have a minig to say Meid Hatol. Because once you say Meid Hatol, you're good to go. You don't have to repeat Shmoneh. But Shmoneh Taka need to do it. They have to do the 90 times. So we have Mr. Gottlieb here. We used to hear all the Minhagi Ashkenaz. What happened to any of that coffin? It came. Oh, they don't make kiddush before coffins, right? Not easy. Okay, but ain't the day lamashin is barbasim kufidal the kan kivishena ashoy loimer hashenki kiyase shabacha vatala. He came with feeling shaimas hashenki kiyase. He goes back to what he's used to. Loimer kelakot. Sif Dalet. Shabbos Tshuva. V'chein imchar Shana Yukrim Shabbos.
Like this year, Shoshana Shabbos.
Right, the Shana falls on Shabbos, the first day. Oimer Ashliach Tzibah Bracha Mein Sheva Shavel Shabbos Hamelach Hakodesh Chosim Shabbos. You know, we have a mini Chazaras Hashatz one night a week. Friday night, we say what's called a Birchas Me'ein Sheva. It's a small mini bracha. It's a mini chazaras hashatz, a miniature form of the whole Shmoneh Esrei that we just said. Friday night. On Shabbos, we only have 7 brachas Shmoneh Esrei. 3 in the beginning, 2 ending, 1 in the middle. The Kaddish Shabbos, right? So we say a mini version of that Shmoneh Esrei of what we just said. So I usually say Akel HaKadosh in that mini version. Now we have a parenthesis of it in the Siddur, since it's the same Melech HaKadosh that night. Now, what happens? So Alter Rebbe points out, normally when it's Shabbos and Yom Tif, we add Shabbos into the Yom Tif Shmones, Shalosh Regalim, Rosh Hashannah. We'll say Mekadesh HaShabbos v'Yisrael b'Hazmanim, right? Or Yom HaZikaron. Mekadesh Shabbos, right? The Kippur. What's the list of Rosh Hashannah? Melech HaKol Haaretz. Yeah. So we'd say Mekadesh Shabbos Yisrael Melech HaKol Haaretz. Mekadesh Shabbos, when it's Shabbos, you add in Shabbos over there. So he says in the mini Chazar Sashatz, main Sheva, you don't add in Yom Tif. You only mention Shabbos. Why? Because the whole reason doesn't explain it here, explains in Hilchos Shabbos. The whole reason why we have this mini Chazar Shatz, B'chaba Ma'ariv is no Chazar Shatz. The reason why is Ma'ariv is Be'etzem Rishus. Ma'ariv started off as a Rishus, it was not obligatory. Later on, Klal Yisrael took it upon themselves as a favor. So because Ma'ariv is only Rishus, Chazal never instituted Chazar Shatz v'Moitzi v'Eini Baki. Someone's not a Baki, needed to Shatz. No, we're not worried. It's only a Rishus. No Chiyuv. So Ma'ariv, there's never Chazar Shatz. Friday night there is, even when it falls on the Shabbos in Kippur there is. The reason is because since Friday night, you can't cook on Friday night. Yom Tov you could cook. Friday night you can't cook. So because you can't cook, people stay home later. People would stay home later till mamish late till Shkia, so they can finish up the last minute preparations. So many people would come late to shul Friday night, more than by Yom Tov, when people felt that I could always do it later on. I could always put up the food, warm it up, do something on Yom Tov, so I could come more like a mensch to shul. So because the shuls those days were located in the fields, and people would have to walk back home at night, either alone. So therefore, they would walk back together as a group when they finish davening. Now, what happens? They finish Shemoneh Esrei. There's certain people came late to davening. They still didn't finish up. To give time for those people to finish up a Shemoneh Esrei, we had it in a Chazar Sashatz, a small Chazar Sashatz, Mein Sheva. Azay, by the time they're finished, the Olam will all be ready. They'll walk back together to shul. So because the whole Inyan really is Shabbos, not a Yom Tif, so even though on Rosh Hashanah Kippur, like this year, we're going to say Rosh Hashanah Me'ein Sheva, from the first night of Rosh Hashanah, we don't add in Mekadesh HaShabbos, Melech HaKol Haaretz, Mekadesh HaShabbos Yisrael, and we don't add in Yom Tif to the bracha, because the whole bracha was only because of Shabbos. So even though it happens to be Rosh Hashanah or Yom Tif, we don't change that nusach. We leave it the way it is, Mekadesh HaShabbos. In middle Shemoneh Esrei, you're going to add in Shabbos and Yom Tif both together. But the Chazar Sashatz, we're going to keep it the way it is, always Shabbos. If you recall, there was a whole shaila when it came the COVID time, Bichlal, because this main Sheva was instituted because of the svara of people that come late to shul. So the Shulchan Aruch said you only say it when there's a kavur de minyan, a shul. Someone makes Friday night a minyan in his house. Here, let's make a minyan. Or Sheva bracha, so make a minyan in my house. You don't say the bracha in Sheva because it's not kavur. The chatakana lechatchila was only when you have a beis hakneses kavur to make this type of chazar sashatz. You're having a thing which is not kavur. You're not supposed to say this chadash. Came a shiloh with the COVID time. People were they had their minyanim on the porch, backyard, whatever whether you joined the minyan, you didn't join the minyan, but they had these minyanim going on, and became the shiloh. Do you say this bracha mein sheva? So I remember someone writing that one of the rabbanim he tainted that what do you mean? You shouldn't. It's not the shul. You shouldn't do it. I held no. I didn't. This didn't make sense to me because the shul is locked now. This is the shul. You went on your block. You went on the, Friday night. You went on your block to your shul on the block wherever it was, your shtibel. Now the guys of the shtibel are all here on the board. This is their minyan. This is the minyan. Meaning when Mela, there's a shtattish shul is going on. The doors are open. There's a minyan going on. And you are not there. And you're making your private minyan derech aray in your house. It's one thing. But over here, when the shul is closed, and this is the minyan, then why should Al Derech said Minchas Yitzchak, he was a Dayan Weiss. He later became he was originally in Manchester. He was a Dayan in Manchester. Later, the Satmar Rav appointed him to be the head of the Eidach Haredis, the guy in the Eidach Haredis Shalayim. The famous story they say, I don't know if it's Emes or not, but they asked the Satmar Rebbe that he was not a Kanoi, he was a Chavizhenser. He was like married to, I think, a sister of the Vizhenser Rebbe's first wife. You could say he didn't have Kanos in his blood. So they said to the Vizhenser Rebbe, the Satmar Rebbe, how could you appoint him Vishkein Kanoi? And for the Eidach Haredis, he'd be a Kanoi. So he told him like this: "Atamut Chacham kemenish veren über Nacht. Overnight, you can't become a Talmud Chacham. A kanoi can veren über Nacht. I can't create a Talmud Chacham, but a kanoi, we can make him into a kanoi." He was a very big Talmud Chacham. He was Taka, a special Talmud Chacham. His tshuvas are really beautiful tshuvas, and he has a tshuva there. What should they do when they make the demonstrations? The Eidach Haredis is very into demonstrations. It's one of their things you sign up to. Chabad, you have Meftzayim, the Eidach Haredis, you have to sign up to doing demonstrations. So the demonstrations over there, they have shilas that come up. I'm not sure. It's probably Muksa, Lagavi the Raks. I don't know how to deal with all the different shilas. Hilchas Havgana. So one of the Yanim of Havgana is that they daven. One of the things is they go on the street, they block the street off for Shabbos, and they daven in the street. Shabbos comes, so they say Me'ein Sheva. So the Minchas Yitzchak has a tshuva. Are they allowed to say the Brit Me'ein Sheva? It's derech arei. It's not the meaning. It's not the basic knesses. So he passes you do. Why? He says if the shul is closed, you left the shul, the minyan transported from the shul to the street, then thus is the kehillah. This is the shul. You're not in that wall there, but this is the minyan. The whole din that we say that Birchas Me'ein Sheva you don't say when the minyan is arei is when you're making your own private minyan and the shul's going on. But if they left their whole shul and went to the street, it doesn't mean. I think I like that svara, and I thought in COVID that was very mistaber when the shuls were locked and you couldn't get into your shul, and you make a minyan. I think you could have said the main sheva. So that was special.
Main sheva, when they stop people going together from shul, why they didn't stop main sheva? They did the whole thing because people coming late want to go together.
Right.
But in our days, nobody got together.
Right. So that's a good question, and
change from what
that's a very good question.
If this is what the Chachamim did back then, we're not supposed to change.
Chachamim in these days can change it because it's not applicable.
So sometimes we
light candle nights at Friday night. The only reason why I like this is there was no electricity. Now we have electricity. You wouldn't like candles at Friday night?
So a lot of dinim are like, it's a good question, and sometimes we taka say the tam is this battle. We say the takana. For example, we're not makbid to keep our water closed, right? Because it says that if the water is left open, maybe a poisonous snake drank from it, put his poison in there. We don't say that because we don't have snakes around. What happens to takana? We should keep it because we say it like this. Certain times there are very,
This water overnight, you would drink it?
I might not drink it inside of Istanis, but I'm just saying, not because of the snakes, but maybe because of the fly. The Gra was makbid on it. It says, and the Shalah Kaddish were makbid on it, because there was some that held. Ikra Halach and Shulchan Aruch is that this inyan, it's clear that the takana was tied to places where there were snakes. Mashal says clearly where there is no snakes, they weren't makbid. So now, but we don't have that problem. We don't have to keep it. So it's certain places clear that the takana is no longer applicable. There were others that held it still, like Kiddush. The Ashkenazi shuls, they make Kiddush Friday night. The Chazan makes Kiddush. Yeah, only the Ashkenazim do it, right? The Sfardim, the Chassidim, no one does it. Why are they doing this? The same idea. This Kiddush is originally Takanas Chazal. We read about it in Perakav Psachim. That you want to make sure the Orchim, there were Orchim used to stay in the shul. They had rooms, they had guest houses around the shul. They needed Kiddush. You didn't have wine. You didn't travel with them with a bottle of wine. It wasn't those days that you went into the store, you bought your Kesser, your Kedem wine. Everyone made their own private wine. So where was the guest supposed to have wine from? So the shul, the takana was, the shul has the kila. So they had food in their room. It says they would stand by their room and listen to the Kiddush. You don't have to have Kiddush Makom Suda. It's true. It's discussed in Shulchan Aruch. So now, the Maisa becomes a Shiloh. Today we don't have Aruchim in Shul. This whole concept doesn't exist anymore. And maybe some Shul, Shem and Shabbos, in 70, but they do have some Aruchim over there hanging out there. But in general, there's no Aruchim in Shul. So what are we doing this for? So some Rishonim held Taket, Takana is battle. Some Rishonim said, no, you have to continue the Takana. So Ashkenazim, minig Ashkenazim to continue the Takana. And no one is Yoitzer with that Kiddush. It's just to keep the Takana going. The Mekadosh himself is not Yoitzer. He's not having Makom Suda. Give it to the cotton because he can't drink it. Across the street, Rabbi Khan, they don't do it.
Young Israel, they do it next door.
Used to, not anymore.
Rabbi Khan is not a strictly.
Why?
Rabbi Khan is not a strict Ashkenaz shul. Doesn't they? B'chalal they daven nusach Ashkenaz, but they're not noyig or minhagi Ashkenaz. Not noyig. Okay. Young Israel doesn't do it anymore.
Why not?
I used to go there Friday.
It's a wine shortage.
No.
Since COVID, before, after?
Beth Kell.
Years ago, they used
Beth
to
Kell
do
and Gottlieb would tell us he would do it in his shul.
it. Years ago, they used to do it, get the cotton to summer. But now-
Century Village does it, and it's
In
young
Boca Raton, are they doing it?
Yes, and it's young Israel.
Young Israel and Boca Raton is doing it.
Oh, they're doing it.
That's the day you have it. So some places are still doing it this minute. It's a similar idea. It's a good shaila, but it's a takana. By the way, there is a pi Kabbalah. Interesting enough, a pi mukubalim. It's different in the way it is in halacha. Halacha says only by mi and kavua you do it, but by mi and b'derech ara you don't do it. Say the nusach main sheva. But the mukubalim say that the reason for this pi Kabbalah is applicable even when it's derech ara. And there are many Chassidish people that when they make a meeting privately in their home for like a Sheva Brach, whatever it might be, they do say it. Because Al Pi Kabbalah. It's not mentioned in Shulchan Aruch, the Alter Rebbe doesn't mention this. I one time asked Rabbi Heller, he tells me he was not able to minvar the minik Chabad like Gabbardis Inyan. He told me he personally does do it.
He does.
He does. He says, see them do it, and it's Pi Kabbalah, so he feels like... there is maybe one sheet in halacha that held that way, but it's not halacha l'maisa.
Making the bracha man shana.
When you have a private minyan, it's not kavua. Ikar halacha is we don't make it, but there are Chassidim, people that know Pi Kabbalah, they do it.
And then on the Shabbat office on Friday night, you down there fussing. I'm sure he was fighting in my house. And he's saying,
Some people have, let's say, in winter or summer, different zmanim, they make in their black a minyan.
Shabbat office, Friday night down.
Right. Yeah, by the interesting of it, Alter Rebbe calls it Shabbos Tshuva, the Shabbos between and Aseres Tshuva. But we know we also call it Shabbos Shuva. You call it Shabbos Tshuva because the Shabbos in the middle of Aseres Tshuva. It's called Shabbos Tshuva. The Shabbos Shuva is after without the Tuf, is after the Haftarah. The Haftarah is Shuva Yisrael Ad Hashem Elokecha Yishalta V'necha. Shabbos Shuva is after the Haftarah. That's the Olam says Shabbos Shuva. The Alter Rebbe, if you medayik, calls the Shabbos Tshuva.
Tough.
Isn't
Tough.
it also called Shabbos Hagadol?
That's the Shabbos before Pesach. Shabbos Hagadol. And the Rav gives a big drasha. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you very much.
I have a question. Why doesn't Chabad?
Well, you can take us, right? Not a problem.
Why doesn't
How's your koich, Rabbi?